Ever wonder what MASH SF have been up to ever since their collaboration with Cinelli has ended? Whether brakeless riding can be safe, or if spending $1,500 on a first fixed gear is overkill? Answer those questions and more coming up. What's up? I'm Zach Gallardo. Life is short, but don't make it shorter, so ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to watch fixed gear videos just like this one. And in this video, we'll be talking about more parts, so feel free to check out my recommendations, linked in the description. What do you think of the MASH SF aluminum frame releasing this year? In general, I think that MASH SF's frames have been expensive for what they are when you compare them to what else you can get for the same amount of money. They're able to charge more because they have good branding, but if you like what they stand for and you like their design, I wouldn't criticize you for buying one. The 2018 aluminum MASH looks cool and keeps up with MASH's photography-themed designs. It has aggressive geometry and it will definitely give you Fixie points. It'll probably be an excellent bike. They haven't officially announced a price for this frame set yet, but my guess is that it'll be between $900 and $1,000 like their other frame sets have been. But keep in mind, that's just my guess. I personally wouldn't buy one because I try to get the highest quality for every dollar that I spend, but there are some people out there that really like MASH and everything that they put out. They'll jump on it, they'll get it, and they'll be perfectly happy with it, and that's fine by me. Should I get an aero frame or a normal one? By aero, I'm assuming that you mean either pursuit or semi-pursuit geometry that has a downward sloping top tube versus a normal geometry which has a level top tube. In that case, go with the normal geometry since comfort and visibility are way more important for street riding than being aero as with the semi-pursuit or pursuit geometry. The upsides of riding with a semi-pursuit geometry on the street is that some people think it looks cool, it makes it look like you ride harder, so people will give you arbitrarily awarded Fixie points. Most people will be happier riding their bikes with normal geometry, so go with that even if you have to spend a little more, because it'll be worth it. Which frames or complete fixed gears have good tire clearance, relaxed geo, and eyelets? The Surly Steamroller and the Kilo WT have all of those things. The Kilo WT is almost an exact copy of the Surly Steamroller, but it's also cheaper, so there's that. Whether it's ethical is entirely up to you. The Steamroller and the Kilo WT can fit at least up to 38C tires, probably even bigger than that, and they both have road-ish geometry, which is more relaxed than track geometry. Note that the Kilo WT has eyelets on the seat stays for a rear rack, while the Surly Steamroller doesn't, which means with the Steamroller you'll have to use P-clamps to attach a rear rack. Also note that this makes little difference. I recently started riding brakeless because my caliper broke. Should I get a new caliper or just learn how to ride brakeless? If you're experienced riding brakeless, don't take unnecessary risks, and are completely confident in your abilities to stop your bike with brakeless riding techniques, then brakeless can be safe. Brakeless offers a different style of riding that can be a lot of fun, and it can be only reasonably dangerous. The problem with brakeless is that some people that do ride brakeless shouldn't be riding brakeless because they're too inexperienced, they take too many risks, and they put themselves and people they come across in danger because they're not skilled enough to completely have control over their bikes without brakes. If you want to learn how to ride brakeless, keep your front brake on for emergency situations as to not hurt somebody or yourself. Once you become experienced and confident enough in your brakeless riding abilities, then you can take off your front brake. For your situation, whether you want to learn how to ride brakeless or not, get a new brake caliper. What are the best clipless pedals that have the lowest rate of unclipping? The standard for road clipless systems is Shimano's SPD-SL. I've tried it myself and I've had no issues whatsoever with accidental unclipping even when riding brakeless. If you want a more walkable mountain bike clipless system, Shimano's SPDs are also a good option. Shimano pedals have adjustable tension, meaning you can crank down on them so you can minimize the risk of accidental unclipping at the cost of making it harder to disengage from your pedals. The key to look for are pedals with adjustable tension, and Shimano's are the most popular. Is it dangerous to ride your fixed gear without straps or cleats? As a rule of thumb, having two ways to stop your bike is the safest. A front brake and foot retention, a front brake and a rear brake, or a front brake and a coaster brake. It's fine to ride a fixed gear without foot retention assuming you have a front brake and a rear brake. Otherwise, it's not as safe as it should be. If you are riding brakeless without foot retention, that's just dumb, and please send your family my condolences. What all-weather bar tape do you recommend? Some bar tape gets slippery and soggy when wet. I tend to like thinner bar tape since I think that the cushiony ones tend to deaden the road feel a little too much for my liking. So my favorite all-weather bar tape is the Physique Microtex. If you want something that's grippy and cushiony, lizard skins are king. My GXP bottom bracket started to make a slight creak when I put a lot of force into the crank. Is this an early sign of deterioration? Yes, the SRAM GXP bottom brackets kind of suck and they'll just start to creak. Sometimes I'll get lucky and get a SRAM GXP bottom bracket that lasts a few years, or sometimes I'll get one that only lasts 6 months, as was my case when I used Omniums. Regardless, you're going to have to replace the SRAM bottom bracket eventually. The Chris King and Phil Wood GXP bottom brackets are the best replacements and they'll last just about forever, but you will have to pay a pretty penny for them up front. But assuming you're going to be riding with your GXP bottom bracket for years to come, they'll pay for themselves over time considering the money you won't be spending on really cruddy SRAM GXP bottom brackets every 6 months. No matter what you do, ditch the SRAM GXP bottom bracket, whether that's for a square taper crankset like I did, or whether that's for a higher quality GXP bottom bracket. Risers or drop bars? If I could only have one, I would go with drop bars since they're a lot more versatile and they're better for distance riding, which I like to do. Luckily, we don't have to just choose one. Risers are fun too, so why not have both and swap them out according to what you feel like riding? What do you think of threaded to threadless stem converters? They serve a purpose, but I dislike the look of them enough to never use one. If you don't mind the look of them, they can give you the benefits of a threadless setup, easier bar swapping with the same stem, compatibility with stiffer 31.8mm bars, without having to fork over an arm and a leg for a new fork and headset. In terms of money saved, is it better to ride a Fixie until it dies or resell and upgrade every year? Regardless of what you're buying and selling, whether that's houses, stocks, or bikes, money is saved when you make the purchase, not when you sell. What I mean is that the markets for most things, including bikes, can be unpredictable, and you might not be able to sell everything for the price that you want, let alone be able to sell at all. When you upgrade your parts and don't still use the original parts, that's throwing money away from a financial perspective. If you ride a fixed gear until it dies, you'll oftentimes get way more than your money's worth because fixed gears are just so dang reliable. The trade-off here is that you get more value for your money, but you may not be able to ride as nice of a bike as you would like in the present moment. Whether that's worth it depends on your financial situation. Is it okay for a first-time buyer to spend $1,500 or more for a fixed gear custom build, or is it overkill for a first buy? By all means, spend according to your budget, your needs, and your wants. I think it's silly that people will shame newcomers for having nice things because they somehow don't deserve it. The reality is that the haters that try to shame other people for having nice things are just jealous and making up for their own insecurities. Beginners can have nice bikes. Having a nice bike encourages you to ride more since it'll ride more nicely and be way more reliable than a cruddy bike. Getting pumped to ride your bike is a good thing regardless if you're a newbie or a veteran. If building a nice bike gets you more hyped to ride fixed, do it, ride that bike, and have fun. Thanks to everybody that asked questions and made this video possible. I can only answer so many questions per Q&A session, so feel free to ask your question again if I didn't answer it in this video. Fixie famous shoutouts to Mikey Sincox, Mark Vandeventer, Jeziel, Evil Ernie, and Dorella01 for making these videos possible through their support on Patreon. And don't watch this upcoming video if you haven't ridden your bike yet. Instead, ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.